Alright, what's up guys? We're back today, finally filming another video. Unfortunately, it's not about the jet boat. You know, a lot of people are probably waiting for that video on the jet boat, and one day we're gonna get to the jet boat. It just hasn't happened yet. It's not on the list of priorities. But today, we're gonna be building the roll cage for my side-by-side. So first things first, we have to run and get some metal. So we're heading down to Heaven in South Jersey. At least I call it Heaven. Fazio Steel. So I'll show you guys around when we get there. But we got the trailer loaded up in the back. We're gonna go grab some sticks of tubing, pick up some metal for my dad. But yeah, I'll catch up with you guys once we get there. So as you guys can see, we have a little bit of everything here. This is the power tool aisle, and it's insane. Here's some of the other cool shit they sell. I mean, that right there. It's a can of paint for scale. The thing is huge. Alright guys, we got the Tundra all loaded down. All of our tube there, that's the metal from my dad. Plenty of straps. It's kind of a bitch to get that big piece strapped down, but we're ready to head home. So we got the tubing home here. On to what we got, also my dad's, but we got 5 pieces of 1 3/4 by 120 wall and 3 pieces of 1.5 by 120 wall. It's not DOM, it's ERW. However you feel about it, however you feel about it. For what I'm doing, it'll be plenty. It's a little disappointing. They like smash at the end of every single tube. I mean, I guess you would cut it off anyway, but every single one's a little fucked up. I'm gonna get this unloaded. We're gonna get the shop cleaned up because it's a disaster. And then we're gonna prep this thing to take the factory cage off. All right, so the shop is finally clean. It's probably been like 2 hours. I've been fucking around getting it clean. You can't see it because the damn shadow, but I think this will work. I have the bender set up over here, my notcher, and the fab table here. Next, all we gotta do is pop this cage off, all the other accessories. Not really much, just this light bar and the whips. That's what we're gonna do. So also taking off the doors, taking the seats out, making it easy to get in there so we're not fighting anything. So here we go. I time-lapsed that, but I just saw it said time-lapse photo. I don't know what the fuck that means. So if it's not in the video, it's because I messed that up. But got the seats out, the doors off. The cage is completely unbolted right now. I'm not really sure how I'm gonna like pick this thing up, but we'll figure it out. Before I took it off, I wanted to measure all the major points because I'm gonna lower this, so I want to get an idea of how much lower I am. So I'm just gonna take a measurement from here to there, there to there. I could do it when it's on the ground too, but it'd be easier to do right here while it's in the air. I'm not gonna lie, that was far from glorious, but it's off. Beat my ass a little bit. Doesn't look like I scratched it anywhere, which is all I was really worried about. I put that piece on the dash. We got a couple dings right there. That might just be my ratchet, but oh well. It's time we talk design and what we're trying to achieve with this cage. First, we got these bungs. I forget where these are from. I actually got them on Amazon, but I forget who sold them. Boom, they're gonna bolt up. These are through holes, so you could run wires in, but I don't know if I'm gonna use that. And what I wanna go for in the aftermarket, or you know, what I'm building, is a little bit different. And I hope we can achieve it. I've never used a bender before, but this is basically what I'm thinking. We're gonna have, you know, you got the KRX, something like that. That's a really rough drawing, but I want to come up here off our A pillar. I want about a 6-inch drop or so. So that's my goal there. Now I don't have a radius bender. A lot of people nowadays are doing the radius. I think KRXs look really good with a radius cage, but I don't have a radius bender, and to get the setup I want, it's just too much right now. So and let alone, I don't know how to use a regular bender, let alone that. So we're gonna make this one straight, but we still want some dimension and gain some headroom. So we're gonna kind of come up slightly, right around here. You know, you got your seat about there, run this up, and we're gonna kick it down, right? We're gonna, little bend right there to kick it back down. Our B pillar is gonna come up right here. We're not gonna have that kink the factory cage has. And we're gonna run this, boom, into there. And I wanna do a double B pillar. So boom. And then this is gonna come down, and I'm gonna guess there's gonna be some type of kink to line it up with the rear bungs, maybe some gussets here, probably handles here, and then some gussets in the back. So that's basically a super terrible drawing of what I want. Once again, I never bent tube, and I think, if I'm not mistaken, in no effort to help us, they leaned these B-pillar bungs a hair out, which is just gonna make it kind of a bitch for me to figure it out, because if it was just 290s, I could definitely figure that out. But this is gonna require the tubes to kind of come in slightly more than 90, and then at the perfect point land. So we're gonna get these bungs on and then get some tube in the bender. So when I first got my bender, like last week, I did a test bend because I happened to have a piece of 1 3/4 120 wall, same exact thing we're using from when I did my car. So I actually overbent it from 90, and I was like, man, shit, because I wanted to make a 90-degree cheater, and I ended up with damn near the perfect bend as a cheater. For this is what we're gonna use to bend the B pillar bar, and I purposely bought way too much tube. I have 100 feet of tube to do this cage, so we can scrap this. And even if I scrap a B pillar, it's not really scrap because we can use the pieces to build the double B pillar. And I also didn't explain this. We're gonna do a one-piece B pillar and then build the A pillar bars and the rear stays off of that. Some people do on side-by-sides the A pillar to the C pillar, or the rear tie-in. That is cool. I actually really like that design. I'm not gonna try it because they're not on the same plane, and I'm not gonna be able to bend multiple planes. I'm not even gonna attempt it. So that's what we're gonna do. Throw it in the bender and we'll see what happens. I marked this tube out how I think is right. I'm not scared to admit I don't know what I'm doing when it comes to this, especially laying out tube, but I believe I did this right. I have this measurement here, which tells me that this 90 from here to here took 18 inches, right? And this is actually what we used to mock up the B pillar. This is 5 1/4 inches. So if I start this bend 23 1/4 inches, we should end up with this leg perfectly on there. Then we just have to measure. I don't really know. It should be a little bit longer than it has to be. But on the other side, I'm gonna cheat on, but I'll show you when we get there. So like I said, guys, I don't know what I'm doing. I forgot to tighten the follower. Started to bend the bolt, but we fixed it before we got too far. And we're back to bending. If you guys have an affordable bender, you probably know about this, but one of the downsides is sometimes you run out of stroke before you can hit that full 90 degrees. So we're gonna have to back this off, let the screw out some, and probably gonna add about 5 degrees to that for our spring back. Back to jacking. I always say I'm a bad YouTuber, and I am. I forgot to take a video of me fitting that, but this bend worked great, and it is actually overbent. So I overbent it a little bit by accident, but once again, it worked out perfect because those are a few degrees out. So I used this cheater on the other bung, and then marked it to the 0 of where the follower started for this bend onto here. Then I threw this in here, and of course used, I got one of these little angle blocks, square up the die to that vertical leg, and these two bends should be on the same plane. So we're gonna pump this thing again, and hopefully we'll have a B pillar in one shot. I'm not gonna lie, guys, I'm kinda impressed with myself. Look at that. The main, it's so hard to tell with the sun, but the main hoop is done. It actually needs to be tweaked, I lied, and it's kind of just flopping around because it's not welded, but let's take a peek at how true we are. That is 0.1 or 0.2 now off, and I just stood on it, so it probably changed. But I took level between these 2 points, and that was damn near it. This just has to be adjusted like that. Because we were over bending those angles, I actually made my bend slightly outside of where I thought it would have to be, because we could always shrink it back in by bending it more, and that actually worked perfect. I didn't get it on video because it died, but when I first put this in, it needed a little bump. Like, it was about a 1/4 inch off, but it would flex right in. I didn't want to keep fighting these bungs later on down the road, so I bent each side about 1 degree to 1/2 degree more, and it fit perfect. I actually just tacked it in. Just a couple, obviously I can't weld it all the way anyway, but I tacked it in. I cleaned up the metal also, so when I do the harness bar, that's already cleaned up. Then next we're gonna start on the A-pillar bars. I don't even know where to start with these. I'm gonna sit here and brainstorm a little bit. I'm gonna guess. I'm gonna have to measure this and figure out, I don't know. This one might actually require some math, but probably not. I'm probably gonna figure a way around it anyway. But super stoked on the B-pillar. I did cheat to get it, so I'm not sure if it counts, but it does fit, first try, without scrapping any tubes. So I am like literally ecstatic right now. We're gonna start working on figuring out this A-pillar. I'm trying to mock up the A-pillar, and I'm at a crossroads because I wanted to do a 4-inch drop in the front. I would like to use this windshield, and this top tab that is underneath here is about 4 inches. Now I was gonna remove that, put these mounts directly to a bar. I might make my own windshield, like aluminum frame with auto glass, but for now, I want to build it to be able to use that windshield. So I subtracted 4 inches from my measurement. This front leg on the A-pillar on the factory cage was 23.5 or 1/4, so I went 19.5. I went 4 inches less, and I mocked it up with this TIG welding rod, super high-tech stuff that a lot of people, you know, they don't have this program in the garage. And if you look at this, it just looks wacky with that B-pillar. Like, maybe my B-pillar is too low, but I don't like it. We're just gonna start the bend at 18 inches up. Just eyeball it, see where it looks good. We're gonna leave the tube long, so I already marked out 18 inches to start the bend. We're gonna cut it at 50. This should be plenty of tubing to have. And like I said, we're gonna have cutoffs. I'm gonna have a lot of waste because I don't know what I'm doing. But this is gonna work. And if you notice, there is a weld seam since this is ERW. I'm bending that on the neutral plane, so rather than stretching it or compressing it, I bent it on the neutral plane so it doesn't stretch or compress. I'm gonna do the same on the A and B, and I'm gonna face them inside. And my theory behind that is, if there was an impact to the outside, it wouldn't stress the seam. Like if you flipped onto a rock and a sharp edge hit the tube, you're not stressing that seam. So this is kind of a bitch to mock up because this isn't how it would lay, first off. And this bung just, it's a pretty tight fit. This is made for 120 wall 1 3/4 tubing, but it's not as tight as could be possible. So I'm gonna set this camera up for you guys and try and get this so you can see what we're working with. So this, if we want to put a kink here, this has to point up in the air for the kink to work, obviously, right? And this is actually pretty damn close to the factory windshield height, which is kind of crazy. I thought it would be less. So here's what we're gonna do. Pick up and kind of give you an idea. That's about where we're at right now. I'm not sure if I want to bend this more or cut this. I think I'm gonna cut 1 inch out of here, and then we'll bend this and do our notch right there. So we're gonna cut some off the bottom, add a couple more degrees to the bend, and eyeball it then. So I figured out a way to hold all this so I can kind of get an idea what it's gonna look like. I think I bent this to about 40. It's pretty, as you can see, it needs to go up a hair. Like this tube needs to be up, but I'm using this Swag off-road angle clamp for tube to kind of support it because we want to visualize how that kink down is gonna look. But this is what we got so far. And I marked it. I'm just guessing here. This is the center, about the center of where I want the bend. I kind of want to gain headroom. Your head's going to be in this area. This will put this tube well above your head. And I just measured with that little angle finder. I got about 10 degrees, I believe, will put me right in the center of this tube. So I'm going to start my bend at 24, bend the 10 degrees, and see what I get. And that 24 is 24 from there. I'm marking all this down so the next tube I can do without lining up. I can put all these measurements that I took, even if they're ass backwards for anyone else, I can duplicate this by going 24 inches from this end back, starting my bend there. It's kind of fucked up, but it's gonna work out, and they'll be able to repeat things pretty easily. So we're gonna bend that 10 degrees and see how it comes out. All right. this tube kicked my ass a little bit. Reloading this bend, like loading tube in this bender with this little shoe, you know, it's not too bad, but when you're reloading it at an angle, oh my God, this thing will break you, man. Like, but I think we have it done. So this is what I'm thinking. This is gonna be obviously 1 3/4 lower because we're gonna land it there. But that's about how I'm looking, you know. We got the kink here. I don't really like flat top KRX cages. They just don't do it for me. This adds a little bit of dimension and we can still, you know, keep it nice and low. And I actually, honest to God, this is still almost the height of the factory windshield frame. Bigger than I thought, but I actually like it. I thought I wouldn't, but if I lowered the B pillar more, then I could shorten this. With the way it was, it would have been like a steep uphill, and that it's not aesthetically pleasing. And I want to land this tube actually about here on the bend, because if I land it here where it's straight again, it's almost directly over your head. So I'm gonna try and move it out a hair. Regardless, we're gonna land this out. I'm gonna stop jibber jabbering. Whew, almost came for me. We're gonna mark this and try and notch it. See how it comes out. All right, so that notcher kicked my ass, smashed my hand about 4 times, but we finally got it notched, and believe it or not, it fits great. So down here, we can see we're pretty good. That should probably roll a hair in, but that's all right. We want to follow that factory angle because that's what's gonna make the windshield fit. Look at this notch. I mean, it actually fits up pretty fucking tits. I mean, I'm gonna be TIG welding this, so we want the fitment to be really good. If it was MIG, we could get away with some bigger gaps, I'm not gonna lie. But we're trying not to do that. So in this episode, I just want to knock out the main structure and get it all tacked up, and then we're going to start worrying about the cool shit. Alright guys, so like I said, this is my first time using an actual tubing bender. I have tinkered with a pipe bender from Harbor Freight before. That's a little bit easier. You can center your bend because those just push the ram up. And I'm not doing it a conventional way, but with that said, it's working out, man. Like, look at these 2 tubes, they're the same. This bender, I can only say good things about. I have $600 into this for the bender and 2 dies, and this thing is the tits. I mean, minus my arm, feeling like I'm 12 years old and just discovered the internet again from just pumping, but it really is, like, you can get good repeatable bends. I'm gonna notch this, and we're gonna tack these up and hopefully bang out the rear stays within the next couple hours, and we'll have, you know, good day's work. Guys, so this is actually fit, not welded, but fit up. I notched it, trimmed it a little more. We're pretty damn good over there. We have very small gaps. I mean, that's the biggest gap, and that's also because this is on the bend, so the tube is slightly compressed. I have this Swag Off-Road third hand. This is actually my first time using it. I'd never used this before, but we're gonna use it today because I feel like the perfect time to do it. Even when you have a third person to help position tubes, it's always a bitch to get them perfect. This way I can clamp the tube up, take all my measurements, and then transfer it over there to make sure these are square. So basically I'm going to take a measurement here on this angle, the top angle, and then we're going to transfer that all to there and tack that one up once this one's done. I already checked the top across with that straight edge and my angle finder, and it's actually level within like 0.2 degrees to the B pillar. I'm not going to stress over that. So we're going to weld this up and then start on the rear stays. So I just mocked it up with 2 pieces of pipe. I got about 22 degrees, and I've just got a rough cut, a 44-inch long piece. We're probably going to lose 5 inches on that, but we're going to bend it at 12.5 inches. Hopefully the center line is around 16. I bent that top one to 18 degrees, and it was about 3 inches off, 3.5 inches off to the center line. So we're guesstimating, but we're going to be pretty close. We're going to give it a bend and give it a shot. Really winging it here, guys. We're going to see how she fits. Boom. I mean, I think with a notch, that'll be perfect. I'm not even kidding. I'm going to notch that and see how close we are. We might have to maybe add a little more degrees, but we're pretty close, man. I'm pretty excited about that. I am extremely happy with this, dude. I literally didn't rebend this. All we did was notch it to fit. I had to undo this bung to get the tube in, but it fits perfect, dude. I can't believe how awesome this cage looks right now. This is all just by chance. I mean, look at that. It almost has the same angle all the way back. it just kind of happened to fall in place this way. If I had changed this height at all or anything, if I changed anything, it would have been different. But I love the way this thing looks. I'm gonna duplicate this tube. I'm gonna weld it in, and then we're gonna make the front bar, and that's gonna be it for this video. So these back bars are both tacked in. I'm not gonna lie, I mean, they were kind of hard to figure out the exact angles, so I just eyeballed them. Like, as far as the tilt, came out pretty damn good. One last thing to do, and it is the top crossbar. I had the easiest mission ever. A straight tube with 2 notches. I haven't scrapped a tube all day. I'm extremely proud of how this has been going, but I did just scrap a tube, and it's actually not a bad one because there's no bends. I cut this short. I don't even know how I fucked up on that front crossbar, but this will be used for gussets later on, so really no harm, no foul. And actually, if I can get the A-pin or the harness bar out of this little piece I have left, I definitely would have been able to had I not messed this up. But I might be able to get the harness bar out of that one, which means we only use 2 tubes to do the entire main structure. And here is the front crossbar. Just gotta weld it in. I'm not even gonna bore you guys with that. And I hope it's showing up well on video, but I'm really proud of how it turned out. At first, I wasn't too sure about this A-pillar bar. I thought maybe it looked a little wacky, but it literally just played out perfect to run almost the same angle in that rear slope. And I couldn't ask for much more than that. Like I said, I'm kind of just going. I'm not really, I don't have like a design or anything. Like, I don't have a computer design. I'm just building off of, you know, what's in front of me. And I'm really happy with how this came out. I never imagined I was gonna have this whole cage done today, or the main structure of the cage done today. Like right now, I could weld this up, weld on tabs for the stock seatbelt, or weld the harness bar in, and you could take this out and it would be 1,000 times safer than the stock cage. So I'm super happy with it. Harness bar next, double B pillar next. I think that'll really look sick. I love double B pillars, so I'm excited to have my take on one. But yeah, that's it for this video, guys. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned. And then probably it's going to be part 3. We're going to be building these rear, like this rear exo cage kind of. I still have to order all of the connections because you have to get the tube connections to make this bolt and unbolt, and it's not going to be cheap. So I'm still waiting a little bit to get those. But stay tuned. Like I said, thanks for watching, guys.